Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video we're going to go through the changes or nerfs that Grinding Your Games has introduced to the Atlas Ascendancies. So we get a ton of questions on stream, off stream, and YouTube comments about things that people think have been nerfed, questions about like whether something's still good. So this video is going to address all of that so you guys can kind of get a final understanding of where we're at and where we're going moving forward. So let's get into them. There has been probably about a total of 3 adjustments which I would note as being fairly impactful to the way you're going to play with the Ascendancies in the Atlas. So let's go. First up, Harbingers. So Valdo's Rest features a Harbinger node called, I think it's Diplomatic Escort, which basically puts about 10 Harbingers in your map, in every single map. So when you're doing Alcon maps, you get a ton of Harbingers. It's pretty awesome. Now, they actually have adjusted this at some point in about week 1. So there used to be a Watchstone, well there still is. There's a Watchstone modifier that makes these Harbingers drop much rarer currency shards. Now, in about week 1, these were dropping a ton of Exalt shards and they were also dropping mirror shards. I actually put up a video on this and then had to take it down right after they nerfed it. So essentially, you could put in an Alcon map with this Watchstone modifier on your Atlas, run a map, and you'd get about 2 to 3 Exalt shards per map you did. And it was completely free with 0 investment. Now, the thing that really tipped this over the edge was the fact that you could actually get raw mirror shards. And people were getting, like 10 a day from just mapping all day using this Watchstone, which makes it completely justified, in my opinion, to adjust this Watchstone modifier. Now, they also did gut the Exalt drop rate, the Exalt shard drop rate. It was about 2 or 3 per map, and now it's definitely not that many. I have tested it. But, it is understandable. Alcon Go is very easy to achieve. And once you got this Watchstone modifier, you would have it forever. And you could essentially just generate currency all league long. And I don't think it's the most interesting currency making strategy either. So I'm actually kind of glad that they did adjust it in the end. Because, there's much more interesting things that you can do gameplay-wise to make currency in this game. Okay, so that's the first adjustment they made. Next up, Watchstone imprinting. So as of today, this is no longer possible. A lot of people made a lot of money out of this, and we're going to go over how it works. So Watchstone imprinting was essentially a mechanic that allowed you to take the new craftable Watchstones, which are blue items, and use a bestiary beast called a Kraken Chimera to imprint it, preserving its modifiers, and then revert it. So we'll go into a little bit more detail here. So there's a new sextant in the game called an elevated sextant. It's basically got 15 charges and far superior modifiers. Some of the modifiers are extremely broken, and one of the most broken ones is the one which allows you to drop 3 winged scarabs per map as long as there's possessed monsters in it. People were combining this modifier with the Seance node, and I think it's Lex Proxima, to generate essentially full quad tabs of winged scarabs. The way this would work is you would roll a Watchstone with these elevated sextants. Keep in mind it was very difficult to do until you got the Winged Scarab modifier, and then you would go to the bestiary. You would use a Kraken Chimera on this Watchstone with the sextant modifier on it, and then you would get what's called an imprint. And with this imprint, you could essentially revert it at any time you wanted to its original state. So right now, you'd have a Watchstone with 15 charges of the Winged Scarab modifier on it. You would socket that into your Atlas, you'd run it 15 times, you'd come back to your stash, you'd grab the imprint you made of it, you'd use the imprint on it, and it would revert it back to 15 charges. They'd go back then to the bestiary, use another Kraken Chimera to get another imprint and save that, and then run it another 15 times, and essentially generate infinite Winged Scarabs for a very low cost because these beasts aren't that expensive. Now, this was also usable with other mechanics like Zana or any master mission. You could get them infinitely on a sextant and imprint this constantly on a Watchstone for essentially free harvest farming, temple farming, Jun farming, all of the works. It was much more cheaper than Master Seek's Help Prophecies or farming other methods. You could also get Infinite Legion in New Vestia by imprinting the Legion modifier on these elevated sextants as well. So yeah, very, very powerful. Now, in terms of economic damage, I don't think it's that insane. Some of these modifiers were incredibly difficult to roll, and the sextants were about 1 Exalt each. So if you wanted to roll something like the Scarab modifier, you were easily up for 50 to 100 Exalts just to roll this thing. And this wasn't really in the game for that long, about 1.5 weeks. So I don't think that the people who actually did it made that much money off it, really. So I don't think that there's too much stuff to be concerned about. I'd say that it's just a little bit sad that you can't get infinite master missions to farm stuff like Harvest anymore. That is definitely unfortunate, because farming Harvest and using the really awesome crafts is really, really fun. All right, let's move on. Next up, what else are they planning to adjust? So this isn't in yet. This is something that we saw on Reddit. Now, please keep note that this wasn't from a Grinding Gear member, kind of like top brass kind of guy. This wasn't Chris Wilson. It wasn't Mark. It wasn't Neon saying this. It was just a GGG employee. Now, the GGG employee mentioned on Reddit that they don't intend for Atlas Ascendancies to trigger before Watchstones. Now, what does this mean? Well, essentially, right now, people are farming Harvest in Haywick Hamlet or Lex Proxima right now using Watchstones, which give Zana an additional option. Now, these are incredibly powerful because in combination with the Paths Not Taken node, it essentially doubles it. So, in Haywick Hamlet right now, I have 4 +1 Zana nodes, +1 Zana Watchstones, and with the Atlas Ascendancy here, it goes to 8. Now you can actually roll +2 Zana map options, which would be 16 with the option here. Essentially, this allows you to get a lot of really awesome Zana options and a lot of Zana possibilities at Harvest. Harvest is a very powerful mechanic, and this is the primary way that you can access it in the new expansion, and it is allows you to essentially get it about 1 in 3 chance at getting Zana in your Harvest. 1 in 3 chance at getting Harvest in your Zana. There you go. With just the +1 Watchstones, which is very, very powerful because you can get a lot of really good crafts. Now, in the next patch, they're removing this interaction, and Paths Not Taken should not interact with this anymore, according to the Reddit post. Now, this isn't a confirmed Reddit post from Bex or anything like that. Of course, I have to reiterate that. It may not come to pass, but it sounds like they're entertaining the idea of making it so that this node will no longer double the effect of the Watchstones, essentially making it a lot harder to farm Harvest. In combination with the fact that you can no longer get infinite Zana by imprinting the Sextants as well, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get a ton of Harvest from now and all the way into the league. So crafting those items which you really, really want will be a little bit more difficult, unfortunately. Now, having said that, it is still going to be very powerful to have these Watchstone modifiers because, it goes from 4 to 8 and 16 to 8, so it's still very, very good. You're still going to be able to get, tons of Harvests and a few other options as well, but it is being adjusted most likely in the future. So with all that said, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this quick update on what has been changed. If there's any other big changes or more changes, I will probably make another update videos for you guys, so you guys are well aware of everything that's going on. So with all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.